Welcome to Augusta. Come on down and see us.
Nick Clooney has been many places in the world. He's been on the air from New York to LA, on the networks and cable. But he and his wife Nina call tiny Augusta, Kentucky, population 2004, their hometown.
How long has Augusta been here?
17, it was plotted in the late 1780s, just like Cincinnati was. Cincinnati was 1788, I think, and that was about the same time as Augusta. But it didn't get actually laid out, so to speak, until the 1794. This is Riverside Drive. This is one of the great shots all up and down the river. As you can see, it's pretty much unobstructed. You don't have any power plants and flood walls and none of that stuff, so it's kind of a pretty vista, I think you'll agree.
Particularly sunsets.
Sunsets are marvelous.
They are gorgeous, all orange and yellow and red and lavender. It's
depending
really
on how much pollution is out there.
That's the only time I'm thankful for pollution.
That's right.
So Nina, Augusta's always been close to your heart too, huh?
Well, certainly since 1974, when we finally moved here. We looked at this several times.
But then I kept getting fired.
Yeah,
So we put
story
on.
of his life.
Actually, it's not that he's been fired. He's just been hired for many different jobs, as entertainer and reporter in both electronic and print. In 1959, he married Nina. They had 2 children, Ada, a year older than George, and in 1974, moved to Augusta. Here, their children would be raised, and the town would become a collection of Clooneys.
Here's Rosemary's old house, which is now a museum. My sister Rosemary.
Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you candy.
Nina redid that house for Rosemary.
When we got the house, there was a sign on the front door that said unfit for human habitation.
They weren't kidding. Nina worked on that for 18 months or
About like that.
18 months. And then and Rosemary moved in. She fell in love with the town just as we did.
So Rosemary came here because of you?
Oh yeah, and as a matter of fact, Uncle George came here and lived here, and Aunt Rose and Uncle Isidore came here and lived here, and now my sister Gail has come here, and she and her husband Chris live here. And they built a new house very close to the river. So yeah, this became for a while kind of the family compound. This is our main street. It used to be known as Upper Street back in the days before the Civil War. You'll see the first place we'll come to up here is now the general store. It's a great place. You go in here and you can still get a malted milk at a soda fountain. You can get a milkshake a lot of places, but you can't get a malted milk anywhere except for there.
Why Augusta?
It's bite-sized democracy. You know, it's the mayor might also is somebody we know well, and so you can go up to him and say, "Wendell, fix the pothole." You know, and it's I think what Nina and I have talked about this several times. I think it's what Jefferson had in mind when he was thinking in terms of an American democracy. He was thinking of something like this. He hated cities. He hated big cities. He thought they were the corruption of democracy, whereas a small town where you knew one another and sort of have a collegial attitude toward the people who govern you. He thought that was closest to what the American experiment ought to be. And so we thought about that, and we looked around for different places to find a place we could afford, you know, to live and still be within driving distance.
There you did. You got to it.
What?
Afford and within driving distance.
And it's still true. You can still buy a house here at a reasonable price.
Yeah.
And it's still just, you know, it's an hour from the airport. It's 45 minutes from downtown Cincinnati. So if you live in New York, you're going to commute that much anyway. If you live in LA, you're going to commute more. So we commuted from here to...
Without the traffic.
That's right.
Well, Nina, I mean, he's hosting network programs in New York. He's in LA. Didn't you ever say, no more Augusta?
I really love Augusta. I love living here. The people here are so good to us. They're good to everybody, but they have been incredibly good to us over the years. But I do need to see a bright light every once in a while. You got to take me out and let me, you know, breathe in a little neon.
You know what that means? It means she wants to shop. She wants a great big shopping area that goes forever. Mall America.
No,
Yes, she wants to go.
I enjoy shopping, but I also enjoy theater and that kind of thing that we can't do here.
Yeah, that's the point, and it's great to be that close to Cincinnati and to Louisville and to Lexington and to Dayton and places like that where we can get to them in a very quick.
Yeah, but you made the drive to Cincinnati
Regular.
as regularly. I
Yes.
mean, it's over an hour.
No, it is for you. Door to door, it was about 50 minutes for me, 45 to 50 minutes.
Once they got the AA highway fixed out there,
Yeah.
I could make it in 15 minutes.
She's paying for
But-
that. She's paying for that highway one ticket at a time.
That's my line.
I know.
Stop stealing my lines.
You used to say, Nick, though, that drive back, is in particular at night, gave you a chance to think.
Sure, it was my tank time. I didn't have, in those days, didn't even have a two-way in the car. Or if I did, I turned it off. And it was before cell phones, of course. And so all that time, by the time I got home, I forgot what I was mad about. You know? And it was also a time where I could try to think about what I was doing for a living. When you're doing news, you don't often get that time. You have to just hit the ground running and hope you get it right, working on your instincts and your background and your values, and hope you get it right. This gave me some time to really think about it, and it was very useful to me.
We have an artist group here, very strong. They put together in the, usually the first week in June, a thing called Art in the Garden, where they go down Riverside Drive and they put art in all of the gardens and open it up for people to take a tour of it. And they also have booths and that sort of
It
thing.
became very big. So about
It's-
4,000 or 5,000
yeah.
people came to it this last year.
A lady came from Germany.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Augusta can hold 5,000 people on one day.
Hey,
Well, some of them end up in the river, but you know, you can't have everything. You were in this place. You had lunch with me in here called Bravo. It's great lunches, great sandwiches, great soups. Good place. Are you all
And-
together?
I was going
And
to
here
get the
is the-
microphone out and say, here are our local celebrities, Mr. and Mrs. Nicholas J. Clooney.
That's right. Speak into my hand. Right?
and this is the think tank over here.
The think tank. Yeah, that's
Oh,
the
he's
brain
missing-
trust. We've got some really nice restaurants. I've told you about the General Store, and here at Bravo, and you know about the Beehive. And up around the corner here, of course, is the Parkview. And we've got, what else? We got another one?
Corner Cafe has
Corner
the
Cafe.
best
Great
burgers.
hamburgers.
Best hamburgers.
Great.
They have been cooking on the same grill for 50 years.
And haven't cleaned it yet.
That's
Get the flavor of 1949.
I've almost been here that
62
long.
years, you think? This is Small Town Gift Shop.
I love it. See? We give names to things what they are. You know? It's a gift shop and it's in a small town. It's a small town gift shop. That's what it's.
Fell apart. Hi.
Hey guys.
This clock up here, remember, is dedicated to Rosemary.
There you go. In memory of Rosemary Clooney, the carillon located in the Augusta School Bell Tower is dedicated in loving memory by the Augusta Rotary Club. And every day at 1 o'clock and at 4 o'clock and at 7 o'clock, the bells play music all over the city, and that's in honor of Rosemary. time we listen to it. What do you think of it?
Yes.
Down here is the Parkview. That's our main hotel. I think it has 9 rooms, doesn't it?
No, they fixed another one. They have 10.
10 rooms. We're in double figures now. And they also have a restaurant, which is great. They
do?
serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
Our 2 kids, Ada and George, graduated from the high school here. We're just about 2 blocks away from the school, which actually goes way back. And they just had a $3.5 million renovation. It's wonderful. It was a question of, at one point they were going to close it because it's a very small school, only 25, 30 graduates per year, and it goes K through 12. And it's where George and Ada graduated. So glad that they were able to keep that independent school going, you know.
Was that, Nina, was that a great experience to have your kids at a school that small?
Yes, it was, because we knew where they were, and if they got into trouble, we knew it before they got home, and they got a good enough education. Ada was a merit scholar, and
The only one Augusta's ever had.
The only one, yeah. And George managed to graduate. Now, what were you?
He was president of the science club.
Yeah, that's right. Was he president of his
He could have been.
junior class?
He probably was.
And
Ada was president of
the
her senior
class. Right.
And they had a good time. Oh,
But you have to beat up on kids, you know? Otherwise, they get to thinking they're too important to you.
George, and you know, George is just at 6 feet, just at about 5'11" and 3/4. He was the center.
And he had never played
And he had never
basketball.
played organized basketball in his whole life. The team went 1-20.
He's a little bigger than that now.
He's bigger than anybody now.
But he got a chance to play basketball. And he fell in love with it, still plays it today.
Yes, before that, baseball was his sport. You remember he tried out for the Reds? They had that.
Twice, didn't he?
Right, yeah. The one down in Lexington, I remember very well. And what they usually worry about with the kids coming out of high school is, can they hit the curveball or can they keep up with the heat, you know? That wasn't the problem. He was doing great. He was doing great at the tryout camp down in Lexington for that, but then he was playing center field. And they told him to hit the cutoff man, and he bounced it to him. He didn't know it, but he had a candy arm. So that slowed him down a little.
You guys, you have all that talk. A candy arm.
Made it up. Just made it up.
Here, he and Nina walk through a town where pace is beyond deliberate. Change is thoroughly pondered. The complete opposite of the speed of light transformation that has engulfed the other part of his life, his journalistic profession.
It's a time of disarray, but that's also a time of great possibilities. You know, you've got to be. I'm very optimistic. This is the greatest country the world has ever seen. And therefore, it's like Jefferson said, and Mr. Cronkite and I, to drop a name, talked about this. As Jefferson said, there's nothing so nearly infallible as the deliberate will of a free people. Every one of those words is important. Deliberate will, not the mob will, not chasing the current tabloid. The deliberate will of a free people, and deliberate will in one way or another show itself, and we will find a new way to get that information delivered, not because news guys are smart, but because the American people are smart. They'll figure it out.
News-wise, I personally am getting my stone tablets and chisel and hammer out to begin again.
We get electronic news free. We get newspapers cheap, you know. Maybe we'll have to get to a point where if we want news, then we may have to pay for it ourselves rather than relying on the news model we've had so far. And that may be a difficult pill to swallow at first. Instead of my newspaper costing me 50 cents, maybe it costs me $1. Maybe it costs me $1.50. It's still way cheaper than going to get a latte at Starbucks. And it seems to me you'll get something on it'll last a little longer. So we'll have to change our ways. That is to say, we news consumers. Certainly the news people will have to change their ways. That is to say, the gravy days are over, the $1 million anchors, those days are over, and well lost. That's fine. When I was out in California, I was way overpaid and said so at the time. But interestingly enough, it seems to me that we in the news business should receive fair recompense just like everybody else. If you're a good plumber, you make a lot of money. If you're not a good plumber, you don't. If you're a good painter, honest painter, you make a living. You can raise your family. If you're good, you're good at any of the technical skills, you're good at computers, so if you're good at news, you got to make a living. You don't have to have a yacht, but it would be nice if you could send your kids to school, pay off your mortgage. So that's all we in the news business should be shooting for. Just a decent living and a dignified way to spend your life and your retirement.
I think for the most part, also, I shouldn't say this because his head will blow up something awful. He is, I would say, one of the maybe 24, and I think that I'm stretching that, people who can do what he does. And so that focus has paid off for him and for us. So that, I think, will continue to be so. I don't know exactly what he's going to do next, but I think he will continue to focus. Obviously, he's going to focus on news, but in some form or another.
Did I mention I was 75?
I expect you to go to work. That's what I expect.
She wants me out of the house.
That's right.
You didn't see wait a minute, the Augusta Navy here.
Our battleship.
The Augusta Navy?
The entire Navy, our battleship, and all of the officers on board.
There it is. It makes it across the river 94% of the time. We're really excited about that. So it's I think, one of the last 2 ferries on the river, just Anderson Ferry and this one, I think, in that whole 900 miles of the Ohio River.
As much as I kid about it, Augusta never looks as absolutely sensational as it does coming across the river. It's gorgeous.
Looks like a picture postcard.
Yeah, right.
At midday, Nina, who is a housing rehab artist, has served the Augusta City Council, several foundations, and a college board of directors, had more important things to do than have lunch with 2 seniors intent on inhaling an old-school, excess calorie-laden lunch. So Nick handled the final part of the tour solo, beginning with his view on how to handle seasons past.
When you're finished with one phase of your life, whatever it is, let's say back when I was anchoring news for so long, and being a news director and all of that stuff on television, it was engaging, it was difficult, it was sometimes fun, always interesting. Whatever is over, when that phase of your life is over, if you spend a lot of time just thinking about that and rehashing it in your mind, then you're not looking forward and you're not moving and growing. And so I really never miss it. I think about it occasionally because you have to learn from the past, certainly, but I never dwell on it and I never miss it.
In his Cincinnati anchorman days of the 1970s and 1980s,
this is Eyewitness 12 News with anchorman Nick Clooney.
He had a signature sign-off.
For those you see and those you don't, so long. Here was my thought process. Our television news was often upside down in the sense that the anchor became the newscast and got an enormous amount of the credit when things went well, and of course got the blame when they went poorly. The anchor is only a small part the tip of the iceberg of a newsroom. He represents the newsroom, and that's fine, but there's a whole lot of other people getting that thing done, getting that story done, and I wanted to somehow encompass that in the good night. I was thinking about the great good night lines that people had in the major newscasts, and that's the way it is, you know. It would be Walter and good night and good luck, and that's Murrow. Everybody had one. And so mine, I wanted to, as I say, give credit to everybody in the newsroom, and so I would say, for those you see and those you don't, good night. That's it. Because here are a whole bunch of shooters, a bunch of producers, assignment editors, people doing all kinds of work, and nobody knew who in the world they were. Never even knew they existed. I don't know if you were around for the promo campaign that I did, where I would take a photographer and I would have another shooter follow him around. And then I'd put up Dave Butler, one of those you don't see on Eyewitness 12. We ran that campaign for a while, and I liked that. I like getting their faces out there so people knew. We had a whole bunch of professionals putting this thing together, not just Clooney sitting there, you know, smiling through his tears. I thought it was pretty busy there for a minute. Didn't you see two cars simultaneously? Gets a little busy on the weekends. People like to come and just drive up and down 4th Street. This should be called Church Street because we have so many churches on it. There's the Church of the Nazarene down there. Right here's the Presbyterian Church, and across the street over there, beautiful little Christian church, pretty as it could be. On further up, on this side of the street, is the Catholic church and school. We still have a 1st through 8th grade little Catholic school here too. And then farther up on the right, there's a Baptist church, and a half block past that is a Methodist church, all on this street. Don't know why we call it 4th Street. It ought to be Church Street. But everybody needs a refuge. Gotta have a place to hide. And this is not in any way a toy town. It has its own problems. It has its economic difficulties. It has all of the problems that any place else has, but they seem more manageable. You know, if there's somebody's house is broken into, it's likely that our police officer knows who did it, you know.
So do you walk these streets often, you and Nina?
You bet. And walked them more often when our little Spags was with us, of course. Spags was our little dog that we had for 17 years until May the 11th of this year when we lost her. But she took us for walks. She wanted to keep us healthy and provide her with dog food. We didn't want us to keel over, so she made us walk around town. Nina in the morning and I in the evening, every day.
This is the kind of town where we should all live, Clou?
You know, I am sure that for many people who are watching you today, this kind of town would put their teeth on edge. You know, you have to want to live in a place like this because it's out of the way, it's isolated. You're going to have to commute, whatever you do. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They would much rather be, you know, right smack in the middle of the action. And that's fine. I don't blame them at all. I love that kind of activity. I love New York City. I love LA, all of those great cities. But for my home, I prefer Augusta. It's been a great place for us. I tell you, Don, they've protected us. And with Rosemary's amazing celebrity and my more modest celebrity, and then into George's remarkable celebrity, all of that, they protected us, you know, they helped us. When people came here from a lot of places like London, tabloid people came and tried to see if there was something they could find that was nasty about Rosemary or me or George. The people said, exactly where are you from? And what did you want to know? If you want to know, why did you ask them? They're up there. They've been great to us. They've taken care of us.
No, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that away from me.
For those you see and those you don't. So long.